Hi, and welcome to a Create Today video. I'm designer Jen Gallacher. These videos are hosted by Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. Today, we're going to be using some tailored expression stamps and dies. The Vroom Vroom set includes cars as well as phrases, but it also includes the coordinating dies that will cut out the car images. The Fly Your Flag set includes the flags, some sentiments, as well as the die that will cut out the flags when they are stamped. The note paper stamp is simply a stamp, but I got it to coordinate with this beautiful tag pocket die. You will notice that the stamp fits perfectly inside the die, which is why I chose it. So let's go ahead and use these Tailored Expressions products to create an interactive card. The first thing we're going to do is use the Sizzix Big Shot machine to cut out the die. I recommend trying out the magnetic platform that goes with this machine. To do so, you'll need to place a clear cutting plate on top of the platform and then the cardstock on top. Because the platform is magnetic, it's going to hold the die in place. Make sure that the cutting edge of the die is face down when you place it onto your cardstock. You'll notice that it holds in place as I move it around. Then to finish, you'll need to place an additional cutting plate on top and then run it through your die machine. Here is how the die looks when it is cut out. You'll notice that I cut it again from a 6x6 paper pad and then trimmed it along the bottom here. Let's go ahead and assemble it. Using the fold lines indicated on the die cut, crease and fold the card. You'll want to make sure that the creases are nice and straight. To the inside, we're going to add the green pattern paper. This dresses it up just a little bit. Using the bottom edge of the die cut, place the pattern paper on top, and then add adhesive to the two folds. For the next step, we're going to use the note paper stamp. Now you'll notice that it is a cling stamp and that it clings to the back of the packaging, which is a nice way to store it later. You'll need a clear acrylic block, and you'll place the stamp onto the block. I'm using the left edge to try and align the stamp as best as possible. Then you will ink the stamp with whatever ink color you wish, and you'll stamp directly onto the craft cardstock. You'll notice that behind the paper I have a foam base, which means that when I stamp into the surface of the paper, I'm going to get a nice crisp image. So press firmly, but do not rock the stamp. For the inside of the card, we're going to use this Happy Birthday Champ. It is a sentiment, and because it is an interactive card, we want to make sure there's something stamped on that card. So when the recipient gets it, they can pull out this little tag and read the sentiment on top. So we're going to use the lines that are included on the actual first stamped image, and we're going to also use the grid lines to try and align this as best as possible so we get a nice straight image. You could also use a tool that places the stamp perfectly if you so desire, but this is just a trick that I use. So press firmly, but do not rock. And then that gives you a cute sentiment for the card. You could also add additional stamping, or you could add some confetti inside or sequins for fun, or even a little bit of money if it's a birthday for someone that you love. Let's go ahead and stamp the car images. We're going to use this top image, and you'll notice that it's really large, and so you'll want to use a coordinating block that fits the size. I wanted to show you that you could also use a stamp that has a grid design in it for better placement. We're going to use a slightly darker ink than the cardstock that we're stamping into. Now I am using textured cardstock, but I'm going to stamp on the smooth side. And this will give me a crisper image than using the textured side. So that's one trick for when you're stamping into cardstock. Make sure that the stamp is nicely inked, and then you can stamp directly onto that cardstock. Again, press firmly, but do not rock. To cut out the actual stamped image, you need to place the cardstock onto the magnetic platform and the clear cutting plate once again. Then you take the die that coordinates with it, make sure the cutting edge is down, and use your fingers to make sure that it perfectly aligns the stamped image. And you may need to move it around a little bit until you get it exactly perfect. Then place another clear cutting plate on top and run it through your die machine. Here's how each of the pieces look that I've stamped and then die cut. The car we cut first, and then I stamped a flag with the word hooray, and then I stamped a dotted flag. Again, I used the flag die cut to fussy cut around the edges of this particular shape. You can see I've started to create a background for the die cut stamped car. To do so, I'm using the Vroom Vroom word, and you'll want to make sure that it is placed upside right, and I've inked it with Versamark ink, and then I'm just placing it along the diagonal of the card, and I'm using the see-through ability of the clear acrylic block to see where the placement goes, and then I can repeat the word. You can see, and it's okay if it's not perfect, we're just getting kind of an idea. We'll want to offset it a little bit, meaning for the row above, we might want to move the stamp to the right or the left a little bit so that it doesn't look like the same word is stamped right above each other. Again, we're just eyeballing it, just do the best you can. And then when you get to the edge, it's a little easier because it's already going off the page. And we'll finish it off in this corner. The Versamark ink brings out just a slightly darker blue than the cardstock I'm using, but this creates just a fun background. This can be used with any kind of stamp. To finish assembling the interactive card, we're first going to start with the background, and we're going to add a scalloped border to the bottom of it. And I want to deepen the color just a little bit, so I'm going to take a brown craft ink pad and just rub the edges of it. You can see it just kind of darkens it up a little bit. Then we can add this to the bottom of our pocket. Then we're going to be placing the car here, but before we do that, I want to know the placement for these flags. You can see that I folded them in half around a red pin that has a red star rather at the top. And we'll go ahead and add these by simply adding some adhesive to the back. We want the dot one to be higher than the word one. And the sentiment for the card is going to be on the yellow flag. You just want to overlap them a little bit, and then you can add the car. If you're going to be giving it to a child, you may want to consider using toothpicks instead of the pins so that it doesn't poke the child when you give them the card. Then to dress it up even a little bit more, let's go ahead and add a hole to this top scallop piece right in the center, and then we'll thread some ribbon through the top. And I've picked a ribbon in a blue similar to that Vroom Vroom background that we created. And we'll just add a bow to the top of this. It just kind of gives it just a little bit more interest, makes it a little bit prettier. So there you have a card that uses some beautiful tailored expressions, stamps, and coordinating dies. Be sure to check out all their stamps and dies on their website. Thank you for joining me for today's Create Today video. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of these tutorial videos.